Welcome to Unit 2, Acing Objectives. In Unit 1, we talked about ADDIE, a design process instructional designers follow. In this unit, we focus on one part of the ADDIE model, which is the design phase and the emphasis of this class and textbook. Design is defined as a plan or drawing, and an instructional designer is the professional that creates that plan and drawing for learning environments. Let's look at how the instructional design literature has defined design. The Morrison, Ross, and Kemp model treats design as a phase where instructional content is sequenced, instructional strategies are designed, and the instructional message is designed. The flowchart model, similar to Dick and Carey, addressed design as developing objectives, developing tests, describing entry behaviors, and determining sequence and structure. This textbook bridges both interpretations of design. For us, design includes objectives as well as scaffolding and sequencing content and creating engaging instructional strategies. Our objectives for this unit are to distinguish between ACE and ADDIE design processes, and to describe the A of ACE, to describe the C of ACE, which is the create phase, and to describe the E of ACE. ADDIE and ACE are similar models, but ACE combines design, development, and implementation into a create phase, and this helps with rapid prototyping of instruction. So the ACE model is actually helping people get instruction out as quickly as possible. The ACE process taught in the textbook uses the triangle symbol to symbolize all the activities that take place that you see in the green box over there. It represents that entire process and the goal of making it seem more orderly. The A of ACE stands for analyze. The analyze phase involves identifying point A, where the learner is at the beginning, and point B, where the learner is at after the instructional experience. The C of ACE stands for create. It also stands for catalyst, because you create the catalyst for learning. C describes the process of identifying and creating instructional interventions or strategies that move the learner from point A to point B. The E of ACE describes the process of evaluating the effectiveness, efficiency, and appeal of the instruction you create. We do this by usability testing our work. Does learning take place? Does the learner get it? Do our strategies work? This next set of objectives will explain why an objective is the building block of instructional design, and will help you recognize the scalable nature of objectives. You see this symbol here. It represents the instructional objective, the building block of instruction. Its composition represents our blueprint, and it consists of A, B, C, and D variables. Let's talk about the objective as a whole. It has a scalable nature, meaning that several objectives together could make up a lesson, and several lessons together could make up a unit, and several units together can make up a curriculum. If you can create a good objective, you can create an entire curriculum. This next section describes variables A, B, C, and D, and it explains why objectives contribute to what we call a messy process of instructional design. The objective is composed of four important variables. Variable A, which stands for audience, variable B, which stands for outcome or behavior, variable C, which stands for catalyst for change, and variable D, which stands for degree of effectiveness. When these variables all align, they represent a good learning experience. Variable A stands for audience. And we think of a good learning environment as an environment that targets the critical information and experiences needed by the audience, which is the learner. The variable A triangle consists of a hand weight, which represents cognitive load, and cognitive load is our overall learning theory. As we design, we try to predict the weight of information and content covered. We want an optimal weight, since too much information or content can impair learning. We also look at the structure of learners' knowledge. The concept map in the variable A triangle represents a learner's schema, or the way their memory is organized. We hope to be able to predict where there might be gaps in their learning that are important for us to address in our design. The B variable represents the types of decisions we make regarding how we identify the learning outcome or behavior. We focus on 3 general outcome categories, the first being clear access to information, which is symbolized by the I icon. And the second icon represents opportunities for construction of meaning. The third symbol is a swirl diagram, and this communicates creativity and generation of knowledge and construction of meaning. Variable C is represented by a step icon with 3 levels: access, practice, and apply. This signifies supporting learners as they progress through sequenced experience. The names on the steps are access, practice, and apply. These names will vary depending on our strategy. They could be absorb, reflect, integrate, or they could be reads, thinks about, creates. We will cover many different sequences that step learners towards understanding. We employ sequencing strategies to help people learn by presenting easy content before difficult content. That's one type of sequencing strategy. And in this class, we talk about objectives before we talk about entire lessons, because objectives are easier to learn than lessons. We also use familiar to unfamiliar sequences. And for example, in this lesson, we use the architect metaphor to describe something familiar in order to help you understand something unfamiliar, which is usually the profession of instructional design. And similar to familiar to unfamiliar is the known to unknown strategy. We might also use a data to information to knowledge strategy that requires a learner to work first with data, then to organize that data, and then create a unique meaning from their organization. Variable D stands for degree of success. Good objectives are continuously tested for usability. We look at measures of effectiveness, overall, how well did the environment do what it set out to do, how easy was it for the learner, and how likable was it for the learner. Up here you see the sentence, the messy process of design. And the reason we bring this up is that writing objectives is sort of a messy process. It's not a clean-cut step A, B, C, D approach. Even though we use those variables, we call them variables because they aren't just simple elements. Acing instructional objectives means that we're going to use our ACE process of analyze, create, and evaluate in order to write instructional objectives. ACE emphasizes creating objectives in a very measured way. You consider not only each of the 4 variables of instruction, but how they interact. Do they look like this, where they're not really shaping up? Or do they look like this, where they're all aligned and work together? Your ability to work with the interaction of A, B, C, D, it defines your work as an instructional designer. The heart of design is in this messiness, in this interaction, and in your ability to balance the outcomes with your analysis, the outcomes with the strategies you use. Let's look at a non-aligned objective. The desired outcome here is to observe a puppy sitting after a sit command. And for our purposes, in this particular outcome, it's actually at a practice or a create level, since the owner's really making something new happen. They're not just reading something and absorbing it. They're actually practicing and creating. So the objective reads, given information in a book chapter, which is variable C, a puppy owner, that's our variable A, will observe their puppy sitting, variable D, after they say the sit command in a commanding voice. There's really no way to determine if or how the book chapter contributed to a successful sit command, so we can't really say C is aligned with B. The strategy of reading the chapter may or may not have contributed to the puppy sitting. And then a measurable way of assessing sit is not even mentioned, so D is not aligned with B. And we look at the alignment of A and C, we realize that we really don't know anything about the puppy owner, and so we don't really know whether or not that chapter helped them or not. So let's look at an aligned objective. Here, the puppy owner has no previous experience in obedience training, and that's the A. Okay, the strategy they're going to use is they were going to observe a demonstration, and the demonstration will be something like tell the puppy to sit, scoop the puppy in a sitting position if they don't sit, and then reward them. So the outcome is that the puppy will sit, and the way that is assessed is that the puppy will sit 2 times without any scooping or physical contact. This objective is aligned because the demonstration matches the prior knowledge of the puppy owner, so C aligns with A. If the owner doesn't know how to command dogs, they would require some sort of demonstration by someone who does know how to command dogs. Thus, the strategy used aligns with the outcome. The puppy sits without any type of physical contact, so B aligns with D. So let's review the unit. We distinguish between the ACE and ADDIE design process. They're very similar. ACE is used to rapidly prototype or quickly create instruction, and it does that by combining design, develop, and implement into one step called create. The A of ACE is pretty much the analysis that goes into identifying the learner's point A, where they are, and where they want to be at the end of the training. The C of ACE describes the create phase of analyze, create, and evaluate. And this is the stage where we create the catalysts for learning. And this is the emphasis of this class and this textbook. The E of ACE addresses evaluating the effectiveness, efficiency, and appeal of the instruction you create. We also explained why an objective is a building block of instructional design. This is because there's a scalable nature of objectives. If you can write a really good objective, you should have the skills you need to write a good curriculum. We looked at each variable A, B, C, D, and we also talked a little bit about how writing objectives is a messy process, and it's just a process where you're trying to get all those variables to align, and that's what makes it challenging.